A lot of characters I see a pattern of where they come from. Now, a lot of it is centered around gang culture. Let's take, for instance, you have a man who was terrorizing the community for many years. It all started with his birth around the year 1950 in Los Angeles, California. His name is Mercer Bey, according to the credits, but I didn't hear anybody call him by his full name, ever. I do know Bey is the last name used by Muslims majority of the time. Now, I was suspicious when the kid's name on the ID had the last name King, and I went and looked for some court papers, and if you look, you can see the full name on the recipient to be Mercer King. So, at birth, his parents named him that. I'll try to explain in a second how I think he got the last name Bey. Mercer most likely is a product of his environment when he was growing up. In 1965, he participated in a watch riot. He was looting, rioting, and all the above. Now, the reason behind this reason is explained in my video right here. Now, in 1969, things began to get serious for Mercer. Now, this is how I combine the real world with the fiction. And Raymond Washington, along with Cooper Williams, formed the gang, the Crips. Mercer had to be there alongside with them too because a friend of his told one of his foot soldiers that if it wasn't for Mercer, you wouldn't have a flag to fly.
You know who the hell that is? Fix your face. Don't fucking look at him. That's OG Merc. You wouldn't have a flag to fly if it wasn't for that brother right there.
Now, the Crips were formed to protect the community of the outsiders trying to harm the neighborhood, but the history books, they wouldn't go so far as saying all that because they would say that the gangs were formed to commit crimes for financial gain. So now he's gangbanging. All the way he ends up meeting a young lady. Now, I don't know her name, but he ended up having a baby with her in the year 1977. That baby ended up being his newborn son called Antoine King. Now, this is how I got the speculation of the last name not being Bey. Now, we can see a picture on the refrigerator of him and his son. Somehow Mercer gets caught up in the streets and end up doing hard prison time. He was a shooter. He put plenty of brothers on their backs in the name of the gang. His friend expressed this to this foot soldier. He did too. Now, I don't know how many bodies Mercer got, but I believe that is what jailed him. He was an OG because he helped start the gang and he was like a Terminator. He also had a bullet with OG Merc on it for proof. Now, I think he got 15 years because his son said that he was never there in his life as a baby and for his teenager years. In prison, I believe Mercer had like a change of heart and he seen all the things that he would have done wrong in the outside world and he believed that it was time for a change. Now, I think he joined the Muslim Nation and denounced the Crips just like OG Johnson did. Technically, the same exact path. In prison, he got to think about his son and making sure that he grew up to have a father and that he also has a fair life. Also in prison, his son's mom and grandmother end up dying in a car accident. Not much is explained, but Twan is left without a home, technically forced into a shelter. I try to listen because Mercer probation officer is doing measures to get him custody of Twan. Mercer is released from prison in November of 1991. He tells his friend,
It's been a minute, man. When you get out?
About 6 months ago.
Now during this time out, he went and tried to get his son, but first he has to get a job. He ended up landing a job at Pluton Metals. Now this is harder than 90s because most jobs didn't want to hire convicted felons. Now, he got the job, and he got to find somewhere to stay. He ends up staying in Los Angeles and getting a place on the 3400 block of Homeland Drive. Now, if you look at his home, it's directly beside Baldwin's Hill Collision Center on Crenshaw Boulevard. And zooming in on the map, it's on the cross street of Homeland Drive. The address that was ready for Antoine had to be where his mom and him lived or in a group home. And finally, he needed transportation. So he cops a Cadillac Eldorado, maybe like an 80 through an 85 model. Now that he has all three essentials to survive, he tries to take his son in, but he doesn't have custody. As a father, I understand Mercer's mindset. He didn't want his son to get caught up in the gang culture because it's a big influence, and he didn't want him to become an innocent bystander of violence, both by the gangs or the police. I say the police because on March 3rd, 1991, the LAPD claimed that they saw a car speeding on the highway, and when they tried to pull it over, he led them on a high-speed car chase. After he stopped, they claimed that he was intoxicated and beat him senseless. The beating was so bad that even someone made a video game of the incident, and you can see the camcorder guy recording it, and in real life, his name is George Holliday. Four cops were accused of the horrible beating and put on trial. Now, on April 29, 1992, the jury deliberated for 7 days prior, and they came up with a verdict of not guilty. Now, this created an uproar, and this is the start of the LA riots in 1992. At the beginning of the day, though, Mercer knew that it was going to be a problem because he knows the black community is looked down upon by the police. He knew the outcome. So he wanted his son straight home after school. And with the riots that are about to come, he wants him and his son to be able to lay low at Pluton Metals because it has security and a safe, but man, was he wrong. Now let me give you a breakdown of Pluton Metals. They make catalytic converters, and they're made out of platinum, but they have a stockpile of little itty bitty blocks called bullion. And in this bullion, they have $10 million worth. But don't worry, it's protected by a brand new vault with 18-inch thick concrete walls and has 2-door combos. And if they suspect anybody to break in it, the case calms down and closes. Pretty safe. Well, he has his son, and they are on their way, and they combat police brutality. And also, he does something that makes me think that I know why that he's converted to Muslim. 1, stays out of trouble. He gave his life up. 2, he doesn't want a gun. 3, he walks the street in a riot without a weapon, without fear or anything, and looking for his son. 4, he helps innocent people in the store and a white couple that was getting abused because they were white. Now this comes into play smoothly because if you know anything about the LA riots, then you know that the same thing happened to a guy named Reginald Denny on the same exact day, April 29, 1992. He was a truck driver and he was beaten senselessly because he was a white man. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sort of like this couple.
Holy shit! Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out! Hey, get the fuck back, man!
Mercer knows hand to hand. He waits for them to strike to hit him first. Better think, Mercer. Now, Mercer ends up getting the Pluton Metals only for it to be robbed, and he is in the middle of it. Now, I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but Mercer ends up losing a dear friend, and he and his son ends up getting away. Plus, he added another body under his belt. So like I always say, you see anything that you don't like or disagree with, or you want to add to the story, please let me know below. Peace.